right, Chairman. It's another beautiful day in Tone Town. And I always wonder when I say the Tone Town metaphor, whether people feel like it's cringy. I don't know. Tell us in the comments if you think that we're overdoing it on the Tone Town. But I think it is an appropriate metaphor in that we're all on our journey to explore tone, and we're all in different places on this journey. And we're hoping to find some peace and tranquility and harmony between us and our conversation and you. So let us know. But
I'd also like to know what vehicle people are driving on their way to Town.
Right.
That's something I'm curious about. With you always saying it's a beautiful day, Mason, I picture you in a nice little Mazda Miata with the top down. Just going for
But to make it a little bit more masculine, I put a roll bar
Mazda
in there.
Miata.
I put a roll bar on that Miata.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what's your vehicle?
The Miata. I love it. I'm a little bit broad-shouldered for a Miata, but I like that where I kind of dwarf the convertible with my.
It's kind of like Mario Kart-esque.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Big person in a little car.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, it's like the Barbie Lamborghini.
I like it.
Yes, sir. So before we get into the podcast, I want to just name a few overarching things. The first thing is, if you enjoy this podcast, I highly recommend that you leave us a review on iTunes. For whatever reason, iTunes is the way that all the other podcast apps kind of determine the viability of your podcast relative to others in your category. So we highly suggest and would appreciate if you could write us a review on iTunes. And we also want to know that we're hearing people on their feedback around our ads, and we're trying to structure the ads accordingly so that it makes the most sense, so that not only are we able to cover the cost of production to make the podcast possible every week, but also talk about some great brands that we actually all use between the three of us chairmen. So we are not trying to feed you anything that is not something that we do not personally use or endorse ourselves. These are good quality products, good brands, and that's why we are sponsoring or working with them as sponsors. We will continue to evolve this and appreciate your feedback in the comments as we continue this, because that really helps us kind of gauge the effectiveness of everything that's going on. But today we have a really, really cool topic of conversation that I think fits in with today being Cyber Monday. And it's all about a gift guide for the guitar player in your life, or maybe that guitar player in your life is you, and you want to get a great deal on some of the many pieces of gear that are going to be available at a discount for the holiday season. So we're going to walk through that today by Brian Omilion, who, as we've talked about before, is stationed inside Guitar Sanctuary, one of the premier dealerships in all of the United States of America. So there's nobody better than Brian to lead us in this conversation. And we will get into that immediately. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. And then we will come back and continue this conversation. A holiday gift guide for all of you guitar players, bass players, people that consume gear. Let's get into it. Now, before we go any further into the podcast, I want to talk about one of our amazing sponsors, our friends over at BetterHelp. Now, all of us have been in a situation where we've been extremely frustrated. Life can throw some curveballs at us for sure, whether that is frustration in rewiring your new pedalboard or rack rig, or just the things that come up as a part of being human and being alive. There's no manual or troubleshooting guide for how to deal with the curveballs that life throws at you. But there is some amazing companies like BetterHelp that can help you navigate this. BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy service and has matched over 3 million people with a therapist that's already vetted and licensed and is ready to begin helping you. All you need to do is fill out a brief questionnaire, and if things aren't clicking for any reason between you and the therapist, you can change at any time. There's no waiting rooms, there's no traffic, there's no endless search to find the right therapist. And you can learn more and save 10% off on your first month by going to betterhelp.com/chairman. That's betterhelp, HELP.com/chairman, and get 10% off of your first month. Sorry for the interruption, guys, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about one of the sponsors of the show, the Guitar Sanctuary. Now, Guitar Sanctuary is not only the place where Brian Omilion is housed and builds all of his spectacular pedal boards, it's also one of the flagship dealerships in all of the United States. They carry Vertex products, they carry Goodwood products, and pretty much any major brand or boutique brand you can think of is available there, whether it's a guitar, amplifier, or guitar pedals. They have it all. Absolutely amazing shop. Great service, great staff, knowledgeable people, just like Brian Omilion. And furthermore, if you want to have a rig built, you can hire Brian Omilion through the Guitar Sanctuary to build the rig of your dreams. So many different options there, having all the pedals and everything you might need under one roof, and having a guy like Brian Omilion build your pedal board. It is a match made in heaven. Definitely check out the Guitar Sanctuary. It will be linked in the show notes and in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. Absolutely amazing store. Highly recommended by the chairman of the boards.
All right, welcome back. All right, so first off with guitar pedals and Cyber Monday, which today is Cyber Monday for the podcast.
Do you wear VR goggles on Cyber Monday all day?
That would be interesting. That would be kind of fun. It would be interesting. You get to see everyone going crazy over.
I want to see those stuff. VR tone fails where people like run into walls and stuff like that.
I saw one where a guy had VR goggles and he was doing a thing and he was walking on like a beam or whatever and he fell off and he was screaming and I was like, there's no way, but I'm not gutsy enough to try those. We'll come out with our own build or VR to where you put the VR on, but it's the view of us building boards. So you can see how long and painful our 8-hour day work days are.
POV pedal boards, man.
Behind the scenes.
emails boards. So Cyber Monday, lots of deals going on. There's always the battle of should you buy a used pedal, buy a new pedal, especially with all, I have a whole list that we'll talk about of companies that have great stuff and that are participating in Cyber Monday. And if you're listening to this, you probably have already taken advantage of a Black Friday sale or getting ready to. But the great thing is about Cyber Monday or Black Friday is a lot of these sales don't just end on these dates. They go into December, which is really cool. So I'm excited to talk about, options and choices and, even some new stuff that was just released. So, Grant, do you have any, deals or any sales? Do you want to talk about any sales that you guys are participating in for today?
Well, we're pretty, how do I say this nicely about my own company? We're sticklers when it comes to sales. We don't really do sales, with the exception of Black Friday. So I think when this episode airs, as of today, you'll have a few hours left. At the end of the day, the sale will be over.
Go.
Yeah, exactly. Pause the episode. No. So we do sales, once a year, and that's on Black Friday. So it'll be over at 12 a.m. tonight, 11:59 p.m. tonight, something like that. Yeah.
Do you have any of these dealers that you're like, ooh, I'm looking forward to a Cyber Monday sale?
I know for a fact my wife, incredible person, beautiful lady, great heart, does not listen to Chairman of the Boards. She is not one of our
so let it
amazing
go.
listeners.
Let it fly.
So I can drop all the hints I want all day long. It's going to fall on deaf ears as for what I want to get. But there's a few pedals on my list. I think I'll probably get one or two of them, and we'll probably chat about them later in this episode. But there's
I want to know what those are.
Great gear. There's some great gear that's come out, and it's more it's less about if there's something I want, and it's more about do I eat less for the next few weeks coming into all these deals and buy a couple more pedals, or do I just buy one or two? So I'm gonna see where we end up. If I start dropping pounds into December, it's like, Grant bought an extra guitar pedal. He made his choice.
Well, I don't know if the Klassen family doesn't have the Christmas ham and they have the lentils.
Exactly.
The Christmas lentils.
Christmas lentils and near beer. Yeah, that'll be good.
Okay. What about you, Mason?
Well, equally to Grant, we don't do too many sales. I wouldn't say that Black Friday is our only one. Usually through some of our dealers we'll do, some of like the big sales days like Memorial Day. There's usually some sort of sale thing that happens, but I'd say only 2 or 3 times a year can you get Vertex products on a discount. And we don't really do B stock. So there's not really a way to get deals there either because we have such a good relationship with our manufacturer of our metal stuff that they don't even send us stuff that's not perfect. If they did, they would just replace it. So we don't really ever have B stock issues or things like that. So we don't really offer discounts there. So we have 15% off all Vertex products. I believe starting on Black Friday and going through, I think the first or second week of December. I think it depends on the dealer, but we've given our dealers that option. Some of them are participating, some of them are not. I can tell you companies like the Guitar Sanctuary, one of our sponsors, and also Sweetwater, one of our sponsors, they are both offering deals like that. And we have a couple of new pedals that we released. Just a shameless plug. The Steel String SRV Mini, which is a miniature size of our larger Steel String Supreme SRV. It's just the Steel String channel only. And then we also have our Vertex interfaces and module buffer interfaces that will also be under that Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and beyond. So those could be 2 ways to get something at a discount if you have been considering those or keeping your eye on those. But man, it's well beyond anything that we're doing. A lot of places, from the big box stores like Guitar Center and Sweetwater to mom and pop stores like the Guitar Sanctuary are offering some amazing deals. And this is kind of like, as Grant alluded to with Goodwood, this is kind of the only time of the year for a lot of brands that you even have the opportunity to get them at a discount. So if you've been kicking around the idea of getting whatever that brand is that you really like, or that pedal is that you really like, or the guitar, this is the time. You're not going to find a better deal than you're going to find during this kind of like concentrated week of holiday sales.
Yeah. There's all the the normal JHS, Wallace, Jackson Audio, Keeley, all those guys. Like they all they're all putting. Do you have a
list of who all? Do you have a list of? Because this is not just usually just the Guitar Sanctuary. Usually brands they provide. This is like a blanket statement to all their dealers, and then their dealers can choose to participate or not.
Correct. Yeah. So a lot of these companies, like, they do direct, but obviously, purchasing through your local guitar store does help, or anything. But yeah, so I have a list of a bunch of them, which is really cool. Jackson Audio starts on the 18th, which
yeah, that's already passed, so we're good.
It's already passed. Yeah. So it goes to December 6th, 20% off on 20% all products. Off. That's what it says. 20%.
Brad Jackson.
Well done.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
Brad Generous Jackson.
There we go.
Ooh. Well, think about it this way. That's 80% away from free.
Right. That's a deal.
That's how you can mentally kind of just prepare yourself.
And it's on all products too. So even
all products,
new stuff. And I know that they just dropped a custom line where you can like custom design your whatever graphic on it, which is cool. Some people like that. So I mean, hit them up. Keeley Electronics is till December 7th. It's 15% off all
Robert
products.
Keeley. Yep, classic.
Robert Keeley, love them. Boutique Amp Distribution, which says.
So that's like Wampler. Is it specific company or specific brands within that, or anything that's boutique amp distribution?
So it says applies to Synergy models, Tone King.
Okay.
And that's it right now. I think some of those brands are doing their own thing.
I see.
Like
I see. Yeah, because they do Wampler, they do Morgan, they do Soldano.
Yes. Yeah. So there's some of those that are not on the list. Like, oh yeah, one here it says excludes Soldano, Morgan, ENGL. There's a bunch of those companies. So there's only a couple they're doing. Wallace Audio till the 30th. To the end of this month for 20%.
Whoa. Okay. Nice.
And,
Nice walrus.
It says in-store, on-site, everything. Yep. Okay. And then JHS pedals till the 9th of December. 20%. All products.
Something there for everybody.
Yeah. Game Changer audios till the 4th. 20% off.
Okay.
And then Fishman till December 31st. It says $50 instant rebate to customer plus padded cover. So if you're an acoustic player that needs that. And then Brown amplification till the 28th, 10% off in store or on site. And there are some dealers, I will say, that don't participate just because. But I would just call your local store if they have them, ask them around. We're participating because that's our list. But yeah, I'm curious of your guys's Black Friday, like Grant. I'm actually very curious of your list of what you're gonna, because I have a couple, but I'm in the same situation. Like, do we do Thanksgiving dinner, or I guess Thanksgiving will be past? Do we do Christmas dinner, or am I buying that new Gretsch Penguin or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a list of pedals that have kind of caught my eye. The two that I'm kind of most, well, there's probably four I'm really excited about, maybe six. I still want to get my hands on an LVX by Maris. I think that is a really interesting looking pedal, very capable, multi-effects, all that type of thing. The H90 by Eventide is up there. And actually last week, Mason, we were chatting a little bit about the issue of the analog drive-through not existing on the H90. And a buddy of mine were chatting this last week of possible fixes for that. And we were just talking about how with the H90, which is a huge perk for this pedal, I think, multiple stereo inputs and multiple stereo outputs, how you can run the H90 in multiple spots on your board. And we were thinking you could run into it in mono, take an instant dry out, so it's DSP converted, and then run later in your chain all the wet effects, which would also be then DSP converted as well. And you might be able to actually run that without a mixer if you can do it that way. But we were just trying to think about like all these different new pedals. They're getting more and more complex. Like as far as routing go, like you're basically running a laptop that would be more powerful than the computers that sent a man to the moon. However many years ago. Like these things are getting intense, man. Like it's you have to learn, all these different programming.
Unless you believe the moon landing was staged.
Well, even if it was staged, there's some great camera work going on, and even those computers, like the computers that were used, whether it was staged or whether it was real, we're beating those things out now.
You can see the wires. You can see the wires.
Exactly.
There's no shadows.
There's always that stagehand walking behind the shots. Come on, man. So yeah, LVX and like H90, very cool routing options. The two I would say though, if I could just go out and buy one right now on Cyber Monday, it's a toss-up between the DL4 MK2 and the Boss RE202, the bigger one.
Yeah.
Between those two pedals, like the Boss, the 202, I just look at it, I'm like, it just looks awesome. I just want to buy it because of how it looks, And so between those two pedals, I think, I really want to get one of those delays and then potentially a H90 or an LVX because they're just beautiful pieces of gear, I'm tempted.
Would you get LVX tattooed on yourself if you could get one for free?
Anywhere on my body?
Let's start there.
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Face.
No. I'm gonna do a hard pass on anything in the face region.
Like
it would
what
definitely
gang was LVX?
Love X? What are we talking about here?
Was that a Super Bowl? My gosh. Chest hat on a chest?
Nope. No. I'm not going anywhere visible. It would just be for me and me alone.
You're like, I want it on the top of my thigh.
Exactly.
I feel like there's some pedal companies where if you get like a tattoo that they'll like give you a free pedal. I feel like Dark Glass or one of these companies, if you get a tattoo of like their logo or something like that.
Probably why there's so many people with Harley Davidson tattoos. Hey, they get a free bike.
Hey,
that's how it works?
Listen, if Gretsch announces you get a tattoo, you get a free guitar, I'm all for it.
They go out of business.
I will grudge.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so those would probably be my two choices, I would say.
Okay.
DL4 or RE202.
And if there are any tattoo artists that are listening, I'm
capable tattoo artists.
I'm certainly willing to buy Grant an LVX if he gets an LVX tattoo.
Yep.
So
why not?
If you're willing to offer your services to Grant,
up in Vancouver.
He's in Vancouver, BC.
Yep.
And
let's see how this goes.
Yeah, and he can meet you at the border.
Yep.
Yeah. I will say, so I was out of town for vacation last week while you guys had your conversation, and I was really excited for the H90 to come out. So I was out on vacation. We were sitting down for lunch. Everyone's in line to get food, and I'm like watching the release of the H90 come out and just like the video and whatnot. So I got real excited, texting my coworker, hey, save me one because I really want to mess with it when we get back. So I'm driving into work, and I carpool with my boss, and I said something, and he's like, yeah, we sold them all.
Of course.
And I'm like thinking, that's fine. I got one on hold. I'll be totally fine. And I get here and nothing was on hold. They were just so busy that they forgot to put one on hold. And so I'm like sitting here like, I really want the H90, but I still haven't used it. Like it's the one that I've really been interested in because it does dual. And
Eventide
cool.
algorithms in my
So good.
my personal taste, they beat out Line 6. They beat out Strymon. They just sound really, really good. Like Eventide does a great job on multi-effect algorithms. And so even just for that fact, I mean, it's not a perfect pedal, but for that fact, it's a very impressive unit now that you can do a whole lot more than the H9.
And I could be wrong because I didn't get to watch the whole release. Does it come with a whole new editor too? Or an upgraded editor or something? Because I know the old H9, the control was, a bit outdated. Do you guys know anything about that?
I don't know
you
about
can
the
do
editor.
more of the control on the unit itself than the previous version, so you don't have to immediately go to your iPad or your phone.
Which is
the only way I controlled it. Like I still have a couple H9s and I don't have any idea how to use it on the pedal. I always open up my app and that's the only way I know how to use it.
Yeah, I had people that they would do the same thing, and I had two H9s for a while, and I love them. They're great, but they were just very like, I'm very much like, turn the knob kind of person, which is funny though, because how much I love like RJMs and switching systems, and I'm a pedal guy, knob guy, and that the H90 looks really great because it's a little more functional, but it's getting it. It's like waiting it's like 3 weeks behind. I think they're back ordered right now, which they just came out. So I would
probably
say
also means no sales. I assume if no one has them, you can't really get them on sale.
No, I doubt. I doubt they're doing any kind of sale on them. That if they did a sale, it would probably be excluded. It's probably their H9s, if anything, which they're not on the list. So I want to know.
Okay. Are you on the list?
Am I on the list?
It's just like when you go to like a nightclub and you're on the list, you're not getting in.
No, it's not on the list.
You're on my list.
This isn't. Thank you. Appreciate it. I will say another thing's actually on my list is a UA recording interface. I have one here.
Okay.
I have a solo Apollo here, but I want one for home because I do more. I've been doing more stuff at home. Like I have all this setup that I use here for here. I have it at home too. But I like the option to keep it all plugged in. Be able to practice or whatever I have to do or make tutorials from home or whatnot, which will be pretty fun. The weird thing is because I handle so much gear, like there's nothing that I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for that to come out. I'm about like finding like old stuff that came out. Like me, I'm always looking for Nova delays. I don't know why, because I just love the delay. Like it's one of my favorites. So like me, I'm not like, ooh, new Black Friday pedal. I'm like, ooh, Black Friday from 20 years ago. What's that pedal?
Reverb or something like that.
Like, which is funny because people are like, why? It's Cyber Monday. Why are you buying a pedal that came out 10 years ago? I'm like, because it's already super discounted. Like
Black Friday every day.
Black Friday.
Yeah.
Would that
every
be
day.
your favorite delay? Just talking tonally, not features, nothing like that. Would the Nova delay be your favorite sounding delay for a digital style pedal?
I personally say yes. I like the tonal sound of it over the timeline.
Yep.
I love the timeline. I love how easy it is to function. I've had so many of them. I think I have 2 of them right now, but they're on 2 different rigs. I don't put them on the same board. I'm not that bougie. I had one guy who had 2 big skies on a board, and an old coworker and I saw the photo, and I was like, "Dude, why do you have 2 big skies?" And he said all he responded back was layers, bro, and that was it. And I was like, all right.
So he doesn't
layers.
know either. That's what I'm hearing.
I was just like, okay, all right, 2 layers of cloud. That
Timeline definitely has a sound, like with Strymon in general. Strymon has a
Yeah.
sound to them, so I can see how after a while you're like, I'm ready for something a little different.
And I think that's a big thing with the timeline too. Is like I've had it, I've sold it. I went to a Tempest, I went to the Nova, the LCAT. Like I've switched around through all the different stuff, and I always land back on the timeline because of a lot of the MIDI functions. Like I do the MIDI mod for the Nova delay, and it's a great simple scrolling mod. There's just some functions I wish they had designed it with MIDI, originally, that kind of thing. But yeah, I would say totally that one is probably my favorite sounding. And then a non-guitar, a non-pedal equipment, it actually would be a Gretsch White Penguin. So I have been jonesing for one ever since I finally got my Falcon. I'm a huge Gretsch fan. So 10 years ago, I was like, I'm going to buy a White Falcon, and I bought one a couple years ago, and now the Penguin is on my list because I already have a deal with Jet. So those would probably be my 4 things.
I think if I had to get a Penguin, it would be black. If I got a Falcon, it would be white.
Yes. Yeah, so I wanted a black Penguin. It's like $10,000 if you custom order it from the master shop with Gretsch, which we called and asked them, and they said 10,000. I think it was 10,000.
US dollars.
Yes, US dollars. My coworker called them, and I think maybe they even said that they're not doing them right now. So I found one on Facebook Marketplace, which is interesting, just in general Facebook. And I had one guy who wanted to sell his for $2,100, and I was like selling all my gear, listing all my stuff, and I was like, all right, got the money. And he goes, I'm gonna keep it. I was like, okay, fine. So I had $2,100 sitting around, and then I see he relisted it for $5,000 because some idiot on the comments said, "Oh, this is really cheap. They're going for $5,000." So, yeah, that was my thing. But so yeah, it's a Penguin of sword.
Offer him a rig build and trade.
There you go.
I had one person I offered. I was like, hey, I'm not like, hey, I do rig building. I was just like, hey, I do rig buildings. If you're interested in something like that. And he responded back with, no, I'm switching to being a drummer because being a guitarist is overrated. And I was like, oh, okay.
There's more to the story.
That's what I was
going on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Move on.
I just was like, well,
Maybe you should have told him that BetterHelp is a sponsor, and we get 10% off his first month.
I know, it was just one of those like, okay, good talk. So yeah, those would be my. I'm curious, Mason. Do you have anything that's piqued your interest that you're?
Man,
I mean, I can see all your guitars behind you. You got the gear.
Yeah,
I like it.
Well, I have an admission to make that I already got I already cashed in on a Black Friday deal. I got a Carbon Copy Deluxe.
Yes.
Carbon Copy is also on my list.
It's one of those things where, I mean, the Carbon Copy's been out a long time. I'm not going to say that it's the sexiest choice, right? We've heard things thrown around here like LVX. We've heard things thrown around here like DL4 Mark II.
Sexy.
We've heard things thrown around like H90, right? Those are all very like hip. All those pedals, those are getting on the list at the exclusive club.
Yep.
But carbon copy, it's not it's been around a long time. A lot of people, they know they either have one already or whatever. But I'm gonna tell you something that I've learned about the Carbon Copy Deluxe in particular that is very attractive to people like me that like to run wet, dry, wet rigs. Here, so give me a moment, just follow me here.
Gotcha.
So there's a couple things that it does that makes it very unique in this sense. One challenge that I have with a lot of analog delays, running them in a wet, dry, wet context out of a line out of an amplifier, is that they generally can't accept line level. And so you have to really attenuate the level coming out of the line out box in order to not clip an analog delay. And I really love the sound of analog delay. I try to stay as analog as possible. Not quite at the level of Analog Man, who I understand disables like his kitchen clocks and his microwave clocks and all that stuff, because he's that analog. I'm not that analog. But it has a line level selection. So you can actually decide if you want it to be instrument or if you want it to be line internally, which is a really cool feature. So now I don't have to be concerned about the clipping of it. The other thing that it has is an internal switch to make it go 100% wet, which is unusual for a lot of the analog delays. So you can use it in a parallel mixer, and you can use it in a wet, dry, wet context very easily. And there's not many analog delays that will allow you to have both those functions in the same box. And I also bought this, and it's for Black Friday, which is the disaster area micro clock. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see me holding up this beautiful black box. And this is compatible with the Line 6, or sorry, the MXR Carbon Copy Deluxe, which I've purchased. And, one of the problems that I've had also with a lot of the analog delays is that none of them have digital displays that can tell me the BPM. And when a lot of our YouTube videos, when I'm using delay, I'm usually trying to set it to a track where there's a specific BPM. And so the delay is always, it's not enough to be like concerning, but it's always slightly off. And I love that I can just set this to the exact BPM of the song, and I don't have to be concerned about knowing if my repeats are a little bit fast or a little bit slow. I can get it dialed in perfectly. And this is compatible to use as a tap tempo with the BPM display with the Carbon Copy Deluxe. So I have already been using it. It is amazing. And it just has solved so many problems for me. And this pedal has been out forever. Why I didn't know that it did all these things is a mystery. But I've now found it, and thank God that I found the Carbon Copy Deluxe. And on a Black Friday deal, I got this thing, I think for like $170,
Nice.
for a fully analog. It's got all the tap divisions. You have the Carbon Copy Bright in it. You have the Carbon Copy Normal. You have the modulation available on the outside. It's just a great analog delay. So I'm really excited to put this thing into use. And that was, so I've already cashed in on Black Friday.
I was going to say that you came into the podcast today looking a little lighter. Something had been lifted off your shoulders, and now I know it's the Carbon Copy that's taken a bit of the burden and really set you free tonally.
Yeah, and I like what I was hearing some of you say, like Brian in particular. I think that what we should be doing is looking at pedal reviews from 10 years ago and now looking like, and how did they do? Because there's so much new stuff coming out.
Were they telling the truth?
It's drinking water from a fire hose now, and with all the stuff that's coming out, you could never hope to be able to try it all. But let's see what's withstood the test of time. Who has been able to compete with Father Time, and they're still around now doing great stuff. I think the Carbon Copy is certainly in that category. So much love to the Carbon Copy, much love to MXR and Jim Dunlop. This is a very good pedal, and had some really cool hidden features that not even I knew about. So go get yourself one of those for Black Friday.
The Carbon Copy, the single version's been out forever. The Deluxe, is that the last couple of years?
Last couple of years, yeah. And I'm surprised because I put one on Mitch Gallagher's board from Sweetwater, and I didn't even know that it did this stuff. I should have listened to Mitch.
How do you like the carbon copy in comparison to, let's say, another standard like a Waza DM2, or like one's right beside me, like a DM2W?
Yeah, similar.
Totally.
I mean, they're I think they're both based on the DM2, or I guess the Waza, you could say, is a DM2. So it just has more features in it. What's that?
Just has more features in the carbon copy deluxe.
Right, it has the modulation thing, but I think they're all pretty similar. I'd probably say comparatively to the Waza, the carbon copy is maybe a little darker if you get the standard one, but an original DM2 could be pretty dark too. So
very cool, man.
I think that they're great. So I've already cashed in on that. Another thing that I've really been thinking about as far as Black Friday is concerned is I really try to look for like the small companies that like aren't sold in dealerships. So one of the guys that I've been talking about for a while is Analog Noir, who makes these hand wired like treble boosters and fuzzes. And I don't know that he's doing a Black Friday sale, but I always look for companies like that where like you can't really get them in stores, and the maker is maybe doing some sort of like specialty discount. I really am hoping that they do one, because I want to buy one of their fuzzes. I think that the treble booster that I got from them, that's the Cesar Diaz spec, is absolutely amazing. If you're curious how that sounds, you can check out my What's on Your Pedalboard video through Sweetwater, and I kind of use it for kind of like a 70s Clapton type tone, like a Derek and the Dominoes era tone. Another small builder that I'm hoping does one, because I really love his pedals too, is Menatone. And I'm holding up one here that I also had got right before Black Friday because I just couldn't wait. I had the big version of the Red Snapper. I'm holding up the Red Snapper, which is kind of like his mid-gain Tube Screamery type effect. And this mini one sounds absolutely insane. So I'm hoping that like smaller companies like this get in on like the Black Friday, Cyber Monday thing, or just have some sort of holiday sale that they're running, because those companies don't usually have the advantage of being in a bigger box store or a Guitar Sanctuary or Sweetwater, but they make really good stuff, often give, some specialized, kind of like, just limited discounts on stuff like this that you normally would, again, have to only pay, full price for. So I try to support some of the smaller pedal companies as well, and kind of spread the love, going with, the big box company like MXR for the carbon copy. And then, Disaster Area is not like a huge company, supporting them with the micro clock. So some really good stuff here. I don't know that this is the only thing. There's a couple other things I have my eye on, but let's bring it back to Brian.
Yeah, I was gonna actually comment and say, so I actually have the smart clock, the big version of the smart clock on its way. It wasn't a Black Friday purchase or anything, but it was one I've been talking to Matthew about. I've had a bunch of their products, and Matthew's a very smart guy. He has some really good stuff. He said he has some stuff in the works. I'm really excited to find out whatever it's going to be. But those smart clocks are really great, especially they're good. They're not the identical, but like this guy, the Sailor Quartz.
Oh, the Quartz. Yep.
The Quartz. Absolutely an amazing time clock. Problem is getting them. Is you can't get them right now. I mean, yeah. I just they used to be around. I don't know anything. I know, Grant, you're friends with them. I don't know if they're still doing them, if they're not. I've had people that like you see them listed for $700 on Reverb, but I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because you can't find them. So unfortunately that. But the Disaster Smart Clock is a really good comparison. It's a BPM. I don't think it can do all the set lists with the names and colors and stuff, which a lot of these guys do in an editor. But for like a really basic MIDI clock, like it's really good, and it does a job, and it has multi-jack ports to go to different pedals, and it's cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat when it comes to some of this gear and stuff, where like sometimes like these deals, like seeing these sales and stuff, you're like, oh, now I'm gonna buy it. But like 10% off of stuff, after sales tax and shipping and stuff, it's a little bit of a savings. But if there's a company that's not participating and you still want the gear, just go buy it. I mean, support them, or reach out to your local guitar shop if they have it or if they don't. A lot of these companies are direct. Now a lot of the companies are direct. I think Chase Bliss is doing something. I'm not really sure because they are a direct company. Yeah, they only sell direct, so they might do something. If they do, reach out to them or check out social media. That's a big part. I'm actually, this is one I'm curious what you guys, because I'm such a UA dream, kind of thing. I kind of want one of those Fender Tone Masters, the deluxe.
Solid state.
I don't know why. I already have.
You took
my
the red
Jackson.
pill, man.
Explain it.
I don't know.
You took the red pill.
I guess so. Well, the problem is this. So I have my Jackson Newcastle combo, and then I have a friend who so graciously lent me his original Fender Deluxe. So like I already have one. I already have it at the house that I've been using and stuff.
So it's not a reissue. It's a vintage deluxe reverb.
It's like the original power cable. It's no reissue or anything.
Okay,
and
so
I'm
it's like a 60s one, or is
it's 68 Deluxe.
Okay, so it has a drip edge, like a silver grill cloth with a drip edge.
Yeah.
So it's not okay. It's not the new reissue one.
No. He only collects all like the old vintage. He has like 15 of them. His whole house is full of like vintage amps. So I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but I mean, all the specs I looked up were. So and it sounds phenomenal, but it's just so heavy.
Really?
I mean, I don't know if
that's
I'm
like
just
that's like
crazy.
one of the lightest Fenders out. Yeah,
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe
right here. I got a 64, a real one.
Really?
It's it should be like 20, 28, 30 pounds, something like that.
Interesting. I'll have to go weigh it when I get home. But like, I don't know.
You
like
having a dig at Brian and what he can lift? Do we need to talk about that?
Right?
I was
lift,
asking,
bro?
Is Mason having a dig at you and what you can lift? Because
Listen,
we can explore that right here on the podcast if we need to.
Listen, I use the weights that you get from Target. That are the colored ones. They say
the foam ones.
They say one on them. And
go to town.
Gotta get those weights.
Yeah.
No, I carried around my 60-pound kid around Disney World for 5 days last week. So I felt like I got done from that trip and I was all bulk.
Yep.
So.
Dude, you're a
looking
soldier,
good, man.
my shoulders have like 6 packs in them from just carrying them on my shoulders constantly. I mean, there's another thing you might not think about, in-ear monitor companies like 64 Audio or all these other that do custom molds. If you're running direct, a lot of those companies are doing sales. I have 2 pairs from them, but I painstakingly made the wrong decision of requesting some demos of their A12s and A18s. And I can't go back now because the 18s sound incredible. And I have like the A6s. So the 18s just have, 18 drivers of just a couple of each type of driver. And they just sound incredible. But now I'm like,
can you tell me, this is for my benefit and for our listeners, especially for those that are married or have partners. Can you walk me through the conversation you would have to pitch going from the 6s to the 18s to your wife? What does that conversation look like? And how do you kind of prepare yourself for success? What's the mind frame you go into that conversation with?
Well, so my advantage is that my wife also has A6s or A4s or something. So she has them, but because she sings, but she doesn't have from a singer and musician standpoint, like the type of clarity that you'll have for like the type of drivers that are used or recommended for the vocalists are different. Anyways, if my wife wasn't using them, let's just go off of that.
Yep.
She wasn't using them. Basically, the way I would explain it to her is I'd be like, all right, babe, I'm talking to you right now. I love you. Now cover your ears. And she'd be like, why is it all muffled? I'm like, exactly.
Mic drop. Go pick up a mic from your studio, bring it out, drop it, pick it up gently, and bring it back to the studio.
Run all the way back, grab the mic, tell my son to lay on the floor, catch this, drop it, and then hopefully not hit him in the face with the microphone.
Okay. I like that. So you're using an analogy.
Yeah, it's just there's just like a clarity as my friend would do. He'd go, "There's not enough clarity," and I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I never understood it until is that you just start to realize like people, because 90% of these places, like if you're going direct, like they'll go out into the front of the house, but the front of the house mix isn't always the same, as what you're hearing in your ears because they're EQing for the room. So like keep feeling that more natural, less ear fatigue. That's a huge part with the higher drivers is your ears. Like if you take out your headphones and you're like, oh, and your ears hurt and your neck and your whole head hurts, it's because you're getting the fatigue from your ears being drilled with
blasted with beautiful
blasted
tones.
noise. Yeah, for however long the set is. And there's also don't play with one ear out. That will just destroy what your open ear is. But yeah, I mean that's a big part about it is that the higher drivers, they're excessive and they're more, and they're $3,000, which are $2,000. That's still a lot. $2,500 even for some of them. Mine are $1,200.
That's
per drive?
not per driver. 3,000 divided by 18. You're only spending $167 a driver. I mean,
that's
come on, guys.
That's nothing. That's like not
that's
buying pedals.
That's a long Uber ride, though. I mean, if we're talking about drivers.
Yeah. Yep. There we go.
That's a different type of tone drive.
That's interstate right there.
This is tone driver. No. Yeah. So I mean, like that's another high quality thing that I've thought about investing in. And someone else may be thinking about it really just comes down to like those kind of like, and buying quality gear, like buying quality headphones. Obviously you're starting out, don't buy $3,000 headphones. Like take your time. Like me, I started out with some like even the Shure, I think they're Shure S something 215s. They can like a little over $100 from
dual drivers.
Guitar Center. Yeah, they're great. I mean, they do the job, and whatnot. So like if you're needing a pair, check those out. So I mean, yeah, that's what I would say. It's just like there's so many really great companies out there and kind of going around, but also there's a lot of great used pedals.
Yeah. I want to continue this in particular. I want to talk about I like Grant's idea about how do you pitch this to your significant other.
I like
because this may be a valuable thing that listeners may need to have this conversation here in the next few weeks, if not even today, about how they're going to position themselves, so that that they can sort of stack the deck in their favor so that they can ensure that, they're going to have the best possible outcome. But before we do that, I want to break to hear from a couple of our sponsors that make today's show possible. Sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to take an opportunity to talk about one of our amazing sponsors, our friends over at Sweetwater, and their brand new platform called Gear Exchange, which is a buying and selling platform for people like you and me who love to buy and acquire new gear and also sometimes offload gear that we haven't been using. Now, Sweetwater has really designed this to really be optimal for your budget and also to really help support people that want to move their gear. Now, they have a really cool policy where normally if you sold any gear, you normally have to pay some sort of seller fee with ordinary selling platforms like Reverb, for example. But if you decide that you want to keep your money in the form of a Sweetwater gift card, you can actually collect the entire amount of whatever your earnings may be as a seller. Now, right now it advertises that that's going to end as of October 31st, but Sweetwater is actually going to keep this going in perpetuity for the lifetime of the program so that no matter what gear you sell as a seller, you will never have to incur a fee so long as you decide to keep all of the funds on a Sweetwater gift card. And if you're somebody like me, you're constantly buying new stuff from Sweetwater, whether it be guitar gear, pro audio gear, or whatever it may be. If you're somebody who's constantly buying new gear, it's a great way to save on fees and always make sure that you're getting the great sales and support that's consistent with Sweetwater and their amazing sales engineers. So definitely check out the Gear Exchange on Sweetwater's website. Absolutely amazing, really a great platform that I can already see has some great items. I'm looking for a Fender Custom Shop Strat right now, so I'm already on the search on Gear Exchange to try to find Another great strat to add to my arsenal. So I hope you'll enjoy this asset to the gear community as much as I am, and I can't wait to see how they grow and develop this. Really, really excited to be using Gear Exchange from our friends over at Sweetwater. So sorry for the interruption, guys, but I wanted to take a moment to speak to you about one of our amazing sponsors, Mono. Now, if you know anything about the guitar case or just case game in general, Mono has been among the high watermark of all companies in the industry at protecting your gear and giving you some really useful advantages over all the other stuff that's out there with specialty compartments and just really well-made stuff. I use one of their double gig bags, and I often will take 2 guitars in that, and it's just an absolute lifesaver, not having to carry 2 hard cases, but really getting the protection that those hard cases offer. And it allows me to just throw it in the back of my trunk, allows me to be able to get it to the gig, not have to have extra weight due to hard cases. Just a really, really great piece of equipment. And it's that way for anything from Mono, whether you're talking about their great pedal boards, which Grant from Goodwood Audio uses very frequently and are very good quality, in addition to the cases like I would use for my guitar. Absolutely amazing stuff. Highly recommend Mono. And you can get 10% off anything in their store by using the coupon code Chairmen. So head over to Mono's website. It'll be linked in the description and in the show notes, and use the coupon code Chairmen. Get 10% off anything on their website, including the great cases, the great pedal boards, and all the other supplies and goods that they sell over there. Let's get back to the podcast. All right, so Grant, you had said, or you had suggested that Brian sort of, do kind of show us as listeners how we might try to have this conversation.
Yep.
I'm curious about how you might suggest, pretending that you're speaking with your wife, how somebody may attempt to have this conversation to enroll their significant other in the idea of maybe allowing such a purchase for the holiday season.
Okay. So guys, my strategy, I can't say this has been overly successful over the years, but it's my strategy.
What would you say is the
nonetheless.
success rate of this?
I'd say we're probably shooting about 1 in 20.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're
All
not.
right. So this is still in Hail Mary territory.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But I live in Hail Mary territory all the time. And so this is where my suggestions come out of. Use them if you dare, but I wouldn't say it's the best strategy out there. In fact, it might be one of the worst. But it all starts on Saturday morning. Saturday morning, I wake up early and I make pancakes for the family.
Ooh.
When Black Friday starts coming around, my pancakes start taking on suggestive shapes. And I don't mean that in a dirty way. I mean that in a pancake art. So let's say we're talking LVX. If we're talking LVX, the pancakes start
these pancakes
taking...
look like rocket ships?
Well... Is that Jeff Bezos' rocket that was just launched? Yes, that's exactly what it is. So my pancakes will start taking the shapes of maybe certain pieces of gear that I want to start subliminally suggesting to my wife. So instead of a round sun shape, moon shaped, globally shaped pancake, it might start taking the shape of an L, a V, and an X. And then I serve, here's breakfast, babe. Enjoy. Right. I painstakingly made these pancakes, mixed flour and water for you, and chucked them on heat. Ooh. I put in the effort. Now, that might be where the first round of pancakes goes. After that, some Freudian slips of LVX will start making their way into our conversation. And it's like, if we're having dinner, can you please pass the the pepper? Can you pass the pepper over to me, please? And so over time, this is months in the making. Some would say the whole year is leading up to this point. She knows without knowing, or if I'm being less subtle than I probably think I am, she knows what I'm getting at. And hopefully the purchase will be being made on my behalf, for that particular pedal. The tricky thing with the Hail Mary approach, it is a long game. And when companies come out with new pedals right before Black Friday, my whole strategy is thrown out the window. Completely. Now, let's say a week before Black Friday, it's the H90. What's a guy to do? I put in 365 days of effort towards something like an LVX or a Carbon Copy Deluxe or whatever it is. And my whole strategy is out the window. And then I'd get messy. my strategy goes out the window along with everything else, and I usually end up with a pair of socks. So that's where the 1 in 20 comes in there, because there's just great gear coming out all the time. I can't make up my mind, and my strategy is, flimsy at best, is what I'm saying.
Listen, if you get a pair of socks and you I don't even know if socks do it, and in the inside, if there's like a tag that says the size of the socks, is the size of the socks an LVX size?
Oh yes, that's probably what it is. There's probably other products with the exact same, letters on it. Yeah.
She's like, "What size shirt are you?" You're like, "Oh, I'm size LVX."
Yep. So all that to say, my strategy is probably not the best one. Maybe just have an honest conversation with your significant other. I've heard that works a lot better, much more success rates in that territory. So Brian's analogy, love that. So I might be switching up my approach very soon.
Listen, it's all about the sleight of hand. So if you're talking and you're like if you're like this, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. I really want to I just dropped the pedal accidentally. This is the pedal, and just switch it.
Mason, you've already had some success. I mean, you've already gotten a couple things for Black Friday. Why don't you talk through, or maybe even reenact the conversation you had with your wife and child, and how it worked for you?
Well, I think that the thing that you have to just keep in mind, and this may or may not apply to you, is whatever the monetary value is of the item, like this Menatone red snapper that I'm holding in my hands.
Yep.
Let's pretend the value of this is, just to use round numbers, is $200.
Yep.
You basically just have to know that that if you're buying something for $200, you need to be prepared to spend $400. And the reason that I say 400 is because now there's been an accrual of an additional $200 that splits over to my spouse.
Yes.
I've splurged on 200, so now she has a $200 budget to work with. And my wife's proclivities tend to be plants. We have a very robust plant collection in the house of monsteras and rubber.
Are we talking
trees.
Analog plants or plastic? Fake
100% analog plants.
Yep. Real deal.
Real plants.
Yep.
Although with having a 5-month-old, we're quickly learning as he becomes more mobile.
Yes.
We're gonna have to clean up our act as far as where these plants may be placed. So there's invariably, I think, the safest way for a sure thing is just to be okay with whatever the amount that you've spent, that money then in the same amount then crosses over to your spouse's budget. So you need to make sure that the budget is double what you're actually going to spend of it, because then your spouse or significant other needs to be able to feel as though they're equal in the amount of dollars spent. Now that's one way of course that I think is relatively foolproof if the budget allows for it.
Yeah.
But I think the other way, as Grant has alluded, the honest conversation about what your needs might be. You know, some couples that I know that are able to have this conversation. Sometimes they, have a one in, one out policy where there's kind of a finite number of items that are able to be in the household at any given time. And, that could be another way to do it, is to say, hey, I'm operating within the value of the items that I have. And if I want something of greater value or equal value, I need to free a few things out of the roster and bring in something new. So I think that there are many different ways to do it. And then there's the old school way where you say nothing and you just buy it and you hope nobody notices.
We're here to improve on previous generations, though, and I've heard good things about open, honest communication, and I've tried it out, and it works quite well. If I'm going to be honest with you there. But the other thing I'm hearing you say, Mason, if I can read between the lines, is taking advantage of a Black Friday sale. Let's say 15% off. You're actually now saving 30%. because you're
Right.
saving 15% for the money you spend on a pedal and
Yep.
15% on the money that you would then spend on your significant other's gift as well. So Black Friday, we're doubling down here. And if your wife's gift also has a 15% discount on it and she doesn't know about it, you're saving 45%.
That's right.
So I'm saying Black Friday. I mean, maybe there's a lot to be said here for the sales and the approach. You can come away saving more than you spend.
And I think if you can find, or at least in my case, if anybody knows of a plant shop that is in proximity to a guitar shop, and we can consolidate that shopping experience.
Is there a guitar plant shop that exists under the same roof?
There may be,
Amazon.
but I think that just if anybody's aware of such a place, go ahead and throw that in the comment section or in the chat. We'd love to hear from you on that one, and maybe that's where we go next. But that's what I believe I believe that there's going to be quite a bit of that in terms of the shopping this year. I think also there's going to be quite a few new shoe purchases. My wife has returned to work from maternity leave and has realized now that none of her shoes fit because having been pregnant made her feet a half size bigger. So I think there's gonna be quite a few shoe related purchases for this particular Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales week. So that may mean that I actually have some house money to play with.
There you go.
Where I
talking.
didn't blow the budget between my disaster area micro clock and my Line 6 Carbon Copy Deluxe.
But you don't have the pregnant card to pull. Your wife does.
I don't.
Yeah.
I do not.
That's
but I
one
feel
of the
like
sacrifices.
I feel like if we're gonna claim it under the holiday blanket,
fair.
that should be fair game.
Yeah. I can see you've read the fine print, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I will say though, the strategy of buying it and not telling it doesn't really work well for me because I like to post about the gear I get so I can help forward more clients to
How is
the
that
store,
new delay, Brian?
right? Listen, when you have social media and you post on it's funny though because I like when I go on like a vacation, I have a personal Instagram that I only have for like my close family and close friends that can see. And like I'll post something and someone will be like, "So how was that trip to Disney?" And I'm like, "How did you know I went to Disney?" And they're like, "What was on your show?" I'm like, "Oh shoot." So it's the same thing that applies for the gear. She'll be like, was that new? Like, I can't deal with a guitar. "Oh, is that a new guitar?" No, I've had it for weeks.
Customer lent it to me.
Instagram says you got it last week. Oh,
This
yeah,
old
sure.
thing?
This old thing as you're peeling off the plastic. You're like, this old thing.
This thing's 25 years old.
That strategy doesn't work. In all seriousness, so yeah, no, it's just like, I'm in the same boat as like what Mason said. Like, I have a problem with buying gear and then it's sitting on shelves. Like, I get it if you're collecting and stuff. That's like, I see a lot of these guys that have the pedal shelves from like IKEA or whatever, and I have like a single one just because
Does IKEA
my
make a
drawer
specific
broke.
pedal shelf?
They have this like, no, it's like it's like the picture frame shelf, so it has a little notch in the center of it to where the pedals can. And I have one of them because I had a bunch of pedals in a drawer and my drawer broke, so then I had to get.
That's how many pedals you have.
A shelf.
Calm down, Brian.
Not really. It was just like I had that many. I also had a bunch of like Star Wars lightsabers because I collect Star Wars stuff. So
I can just see you saying like, I don't have a problem collecting pedals as your shelf collapses behind you.
It would be. It would be. And that's my thing is like a huge part of it is like if the pedal's just sitting there, like I'm obviously not using it. So I would, sell it, which I've been selling a bunch of stuff. And I will say that goes a long way. Like, hey, $500 I just made on this pedal is going to go towards this. Like my wife and I are great about that. So I always, I would say that same thing. Like, if you want to collect it, go ahead and collect it. But like, it's always good to cycle out because you may find it 10 years down the road, even cheaper than what you sold it for, that you can rebuy it back. So yeah, I know.
Or you just get screwed on Facebook Marketplace.
Also true. I have a very hard time selling gear. Even if I know I'm not going to use it, I just struggle to sell gear.
Oh man, I just sold so much stuff. Because I had a bunch of stuff from the showroom in Burbank that we have that has just been sitting there for years unused. And, it just got to the point where it was like, if I'm very organized, and very neat. And sometimes if stuff gets too overwhelmed, or too overwhelming, I have to kind of like do like some purging. Usually it's not like staple stuff. Like I don't keep like guitars that I don't use or that I don't play, but sometimes the pedals can become a little overwhelming. And it felt so good to just
clear it up.
Free myself. We actually had these NAMM booths built like 5 years ago that were kind of like, they were like 4 road cases that could be butterfly latched together as like one unit that was like met whatever the size of the pallet was, so that like if it got transported to Nashville or whatever, that it wouldn't exceed the price of whatever the standard palletized size is. And we had it, in our showroom as like a storage thing. And I actually forgot that we had like stored a bunch of stuff in. It's like open it up and there's like all sorts of like pedals in there that like we hadn't even known that we had for like 5 years. They're like had all these drawers and stuff like that were full of just stuff. So I got to experience the Facebook Marketplace and
Beautiful.
Craigslist thing, which I hadn't in quite a while. I have to say, man, the scam stuff on Marketplace is insane. It's insane. I had 3 Svetlanas that were interested
what a
in
coincidence.
pedals, different Svetlanas.
Yeah.
I was like, gosh, man, these Svetlanas are really into tone. And like, I saw every time. I saw the Zelle scam, where they like send you like a fake email that like looks like it's from Zelle. I've got I saw the Venmo scam. I've seen I was just like, man, I'm just doing
Scamming
cash,
it's good business. There's a lot of people in the scam.
Yeah, what
game.
do you do was there, what did the scam people do for Black Friday?
Yeah, exactly.
15% off this scam.
Yeah, exactly. Normally we try and scam you for 200. Today and today only.
My gosh. I got scammed once in my life, and
on Facebook Marketplace.
It wasn't Facebook Marketplace. Maybe it was somehow they just perfectly guessed what my wife's card number was or something, and they bought like movie tickets and like popcorn and drink, all this stuff in like one of those like movie dinner
Let's blame
places.
a data breach.
Something, but I called the place and I had them cancel everything, and then I was like, can you leave a note when they come to pick it up that says have a good day or something like that? So they went to the movie theaters, and when they went to go pick up their tickets, they were handed a paper that just said have a good day or something like that. But I found out it was through Facebook Marketplace, because I had done a transaction and somehow something got breached. But yeah, I agree with you. The Facebook scams. I haven't had a Svetlana, but those, they can be, some of them are just really sketchy. So be careful.
Yeah. I'd say that it's actually worse than Craigslist. Craigslist, it used to be, the Saudi Arabian prince, who turned out to have,
he'll get you your money back, but he just needs his help. He just needs a hand up right now, just for today.
No, it's that it turns out that you're a part of the bloodline, and that you you have $2 million coming to you.
Yep.
And all I need is your PIN number. And
yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
As a Mennonite, someone that came from, Europe, and my bloodline is strictly through, I don't know what it would be, Germany, maybe part of Russia, something like that. I was very happy to see that I had $2 million coming to me from a Saudi bloodline. And Still haven't gotten paid, but they assured me the money's coming. So that's great.
That's a whole lot of LVXs.
Yeah, that's a lot of LVXs.
Cool. Well, I mean, I would say that this, it's a pretty good, idea. You guys have any last, sharing thoughts on finishing out Cyber Monday or any sales?
Well, I want to I want to just make sure, because I want to make sure that you're okay, Brian.
Yeah.
You were talking about Tone Masters earlier, and I'm just curious. You didn't really get to finish that.
Red flag.
I'm really concerned about, like, how much weight is your tone worth? Is I guess my first question.
That's a good thought.
Is 30 pounds too much weight for good tone? And, I think we don't know the ramifications of the Tone Master and having a digital deluxe reverb, let's say. Just like we don't really know what the full impact is of smartphones yet. But everybody predicts that it will be bad. And I can predict that the Tone Master, the outcome, when we look back at this 20 years later, this is going to be like the mullet of tone.
Felt right at the time.
It felt like a great idea. And now you look back at it and you're like, what was I thinking? And your kids are like, what was Dad thinking with that haircut?
Yep.
And all your friends are going to say, what was Brian thinking with that Tone Master choice? What was he thinking? Everybody thought, like, this is why it's, now when we look at people who use the Line 6 kidney, and they used to say, well, I sold all my amps because it sounds just as good as my Marshall and my dual rectifier and my Twin. And now we're looking at him and like,
no, it didn't.
That guy was demented.
Yeah.
And so, and people are still doing this now with Kemper and all the other, digital perversions, by the way. What do we need to do, Brian?
Just in case you didn't know what camp Mason was in, now we do.
What do we need to do to talk you off the ledge of the Tone Master?
Honestly, talking about it, I'm already talked off the ledge.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was a close call. Close call avoided, though.
Well, and then it's me talking about wanting something that I already have in my house.
Yeah.
And
the vintage version.
The real version of it. Yeah. And the funny thing is someone was like, oh, if you get one, how are you going to run it? And I was like, oh, I probably would try the XLR out. And someone goes, don't do it. It sounds terrible. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I will be the judge of that, how it sounds. He's like, oh, just mic it. I'm like, heck, if I'm gonna mic this, I'm just gonna bring the real thing. But I will say I played both my amps at home and it does sound really good. But I also do have to give it back to my friend eventually. So,
but you could lose his number. So really, I think now you're in a bit of a crossroads on Tone Town.
Tell him?
Do you keep the friendship, or do you keep the amp? I think this is a real decision, maybe for another episode of Lent gear gone wrong, and we could talk about that on a future episode. But it's a decision you could consider.
And maybe tell your friend that you're considering a Tone Master. Here's the thing: is that if you're honestly trying a vintage 60s deluxe and you're comparing it to a Tone Master, there's no comparison unless there's something actually wrong with your vintage deluxe reverb. Like there will be no similarities. They're just totally
both make sound.
They're just totally different amps.
Yep.
This is. I mean, do what you want, Brian. It's your life.
I'm washing my hands of this.
Listen, if
I won't be responsible for those who don't take my advice.
So will be if I was to buy the Tone Master the very next week, I'm replaced by a different rig builder.
Just don't tell anyone. Just don't tell anyone.
Just don't tell
Tone
us.
Master.
Ignorance is bliss. I don't want to know. If you go down that road, I don't want to know.
No. I'd buy something else. I'd buy a guitar before I buy one of those.
How much is a Tone Master?
I think it's like $950 or something. It's not very expensive. I could be wrong. I would have to Google it.
Okay, well let's just pretend that they're giving you 15% off on Black Friday. So
if they even are.
Let's say it's around $800. For $600, Brian, you can get a Rivera era Fender Concert. It is hand wired, has 2 channels, it has a 2 buffered effects loop, and both channels on that 2 channels sound incredible. And it is as every bit as good as any of the classic hand wired mid 60s Fenders. If you really want to get to Tone Town,
right?
Don't do the Tone Master. Don't do the Tone Master.
Yeah. Like I said, it was just I'm
concerned for your I'm concerned for your well-being, Brian. Just really concerned about your well-being. And I think that some of us, we try stuff at home. We get a little tone drunk. We have some tone beer goggles. And, we think that it sounds better than it actually is. And then when you regain consciousness and you realize what you've done, you're going to regret it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I will
You're
say
like,
that.
oh my God.
What
Am I in the
have
return
I
policy? I'll just start off the conversation with what's your return policy?
There you go.
Because then
It's probably 30 days on everything except Tone Masters.
well, the fun thing is when we get people that call
As
here,
is.
they're like, what's your return policy? And I'm like, oh, it's 2 days. And they're like, okay. I'm like, okay. Like that's like anytime it start with what's your return policy, you're probably gonna see that gear again. Yeah. You guys have already kind of convinced me that it's probably not, a good idea. Probably just use what I have.
If anybody's listening right now and they're feeling as though we're being unfair to the Tone Master or unfair to Brian, please do put that in the chat or the comments if you're watching on Facebook. And if you're a Tone Master apologist, then maybe you can convince Brian of why he might want to get one. But I don't suspect there's too many Tone Master apologists out there, but they may be there.
Fender apologists, yes.
Fender apologists.
Tone Master
they're sorry that
apologists.
Fender decided to go digital. That's why they have to apologize in advance. It's like a front load. Before we go any further along these lines in kind of the Tone Master, I want to do another break for some sponsors that make the show possible every single week. And then we will resume with a wrap up of this unhelpful guide to Black Friday and Cyber Monday and all the deals. But you know what? I think that it still gives you an insight. I think if anything, you've learned how to speak to your spouse. You've learned about that Brian was tempted to go into we potentially saved his life. Totally.
I won't be a tone fender, so.
But let's break real quick, and then we'll come back and just make sure that we get a proper debrief for Brian so that he feels good about where he's going with his tone. Pardon the interruption, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about one of our amazing sponsors, Pedal Genie. Pedal Genie is like the Netflix of guitar pedals. Basically, you can sign up for their service and get whatever pedals that you want set directly to your door so that you can experiment, try out whatever pedals that you might want, the newest, coolest, latest, and greatest pedals, and you have no obligation to buy them like you would from an ordinary dealership where you'd have to go in, you'd have to buy the pedal, try it out at your home, and then have to worry about getting it back before the return policy expired. There's none of that with Pedal Genie. You simply select the pedals that you want, they send the pedals to your home, you get to check them out with your own gear, and then you can send them back to them when you're ready to try out some new stuff. Really cool system, very simple, and for the first month, listeners get an exclusive Chairman of the Board's discount, which is 50% off your first month using the discount code BOARDS, BOARDS, gives you 50% off your first month with Pedal Genie. Absolutely amazing service, highly recommended by all of us here at the Chairman of the Boards. Sorry for the interruption, folks, but I wanted to take a moment to talk to you about one of our amazing sponsors, Creation Music Company. Not only do they make amazing, beautiful pedal boards, but they also have started making their own quarter-inch plugs and used exclusively by Brian Omilion of Omilion Audio. They have their mini cakes, which are low-profile pancake plugs, as well as short, straight plugs that really compete with any of the greatest and lowest profile short plugs out there. Great for pedal board switchers, and again, that's why guys like Brian Omilion use these plugs exclusively. And listeners get a special discount code. Using the code Chairman15 is going to give you 15% off anything in the Creation website. You can get that discount, get whatever you need for your next pedal board, a pedal board surface, your plugs, whatever you're going to need to build the pedal board of your dreams. Creation is going to be able to help you do that. Head over to their website that's going to be listed in the show notes, as well as the description if you're watching on YouTube. Creation Music Company, absolutely amazing stuff. Highly recommended by the Chairman of the Boards. All right, Brian. How you doing, man? I know that sometimes it hurts when somebody kind of gives you that jolt,
Bit of a truth
and
bomb.
this was sort of a tone intervention in a
It
way,
was
a little bit, and sometimes that can feel a little raw, and just want to make sure that you're okay.
I'm good. I think I think with some triple filter water,
Yeah, hydration is key.
Yeah, maybe ordering from my local Panera Bread or something, getting me a big baguette.
You're speaking
or
my
something.
language right now.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, I order Panera way too often, but it's so good because they deliver, so it's so convenient.
Yep.
So
just
yeah,
know that this comes from a place of love, and that we are friends on the journey to Tone Town, and friends don't let friends use Tone Masters.
Yeah. And it's deceptive, right? If you heard the word, if somebody said, well, I'm a tone master.
Yeah.
You'd say, okay, like this guy's got his black belt in tone, right?
Yeah.
You would say that. You would think that. And the truth is that,
if people have to tell you that they're a tone master and their tone doesn't speak for itself, I wouldn't take what they have to say.
Yeah, those people have their black belt in bullshido.
Oh.
Yeah, you don't want to believe those tone masters. They're like Steven Seagal.
I will say as one kind of side to this episode, maybe take any marriage advice that we have given you thus far in this episode with a very large grain of salt. But the tonal stuff, I feel like that's very valid. So
I don't know. You guys have been married a while. Maybe
10 years
there
next
is
year.
some. How many years?
10 years next year.
10 years, right?
Yeah.
10 years next year.
No way, it's not a competition, buddy.
No, but we've been together since we were 13. So we've been.
You were married at 13?
Wow.
No, if it was her choice, maybe. I remember being 18 in school to be a pilot, and she's like, "Why don't we just get married?" And I'm like, "Because I'm 18." And she's like, "Well,
if you can fly a plane, you can navigate a relationship."
Listen, that's what I'm saying. So so 10. Yeah, I would say I've spent 17 years with the same woman.
What month? What month is 10 years for you, Brian?
It is September.
August.
My daughter was born in August. So, but yeah, it was, September. That's September for us. So
nice, man.
Very cool. What about you, Mason?
15 years in June.
Oh, okay.
15?
All right. So you just demolished the competition here.
But if you think about it this way, that's 35 years of marital experience between the three of us. So, that's
maybe we have more advice in the marriage kind of area. Maybe we should start an offshoot of the podcast. Marriage advice with the chairman. And,
I'm just waiting for the chairman of the board, chairman of the board's episodes where our spouses are also involved.
Right. Whose spouse knows the most about tone?
Yeah.
Gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to have much to say there.
Hey, I did the video where I asked my wife questions about guitar pedals.
Yeah, true. I remember that.
She seemed like she was pretty good. My wife doesn't. She knows like some of these terms and she can like use them, but like not in the right context.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, man, that Strat was super true bypass. that delay was super buffered.
That'd be similar to my wife as well. Yeah. You're playing that switcher real good.
Yeah.
That's about as far as we get. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You play that switcher real good. Yeah. I think that that actually could be a fun episode. I don't know that I could get my wife to agree, but
yeah, my wife.
We could try it with Oakley. He doesn't really say much, but
my kids know how to play turn pedals on and off and twist the knobs, and so I think we could get 20 minutes of content out of that, no problem.
You don't even need a switcher then.
Yeah,
they're the switchers.
Yeah, you'll never get the same sound once, and you'll never get a sound you want when you need it, but the sounds will change.
And the switcher will only cost you like $1 million.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
I read this article. It was like how much it costs to have a kid from when they were born until they graduate or whatever. And I was like, and we were pregnant with our first. I was just like, okay, all right.
And it was $1 million?
Something like that. It was like within the lifespan of them being born to when they graduate and go to college, between everything they need, food, it was like $1 million. And I went, sounds about right. My kids, if my son was ever on this podcast, he would tell you 1,000 times about Woody and Buzz and Spider-Man. So
right,
yeah.
Oh, there's $100,000 right there just on those toys.
Just that. Oh, that's it. If you're at Disney, it's double that.
Yep.
That's right. You guys were just there. You guys were just at Disney.
We were.
Well, I looked up, because I know that this is a little separated from our topic today, but but it's about we've woven marriage into Black Friday, which I think really means we've come 360. It is the cost of like nannies and childcare. In California where I live, it's particularly expensive. But the cost for a year of a nanny for an infant is equal to in-state tuition at a University of California. So the cost of college for a year is the same cost as a year of nannying. That's pretty crazy. So
maybe I need to look into
in public universities are the same price.
That's crazy.
I'm in the wrong field.
Yeah, I think so.
Golly.
The Tone Nanny.
I'll look after your kids and I'll set up your board.
The Tone Nanny. Yeah, I think that could be pretty amazing. And there's no Black Friday sales on rigs. Are there, Brian? Are there, Grant?
It's 100% you pay full cost. That's my discount.
You're getting a Black Friday discount year round. We just don't talk about it. You could be paying more, but you are not. So you're kind of always getting a bit of a discount on a setup. That's one way to look at it.
Yeah.
I guess really the only way you can think about a setup at a discount is if you buy the pedals that are already on discount for the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale. So then your board could technically have a discount.
Yeah. And with all the money you saved, you put that towards the setup. Done.
Yeah.
Right.
You could be saving all that money, all those 15% accrued, and then put that against your rig build.
Yep.
So guys, I think we had a great chat today. I don't know that we actually helped anybody.
We swerved a lot. There were a lot of turns today.
There were, but as we've said, that the road to Tone Town is not always linear. Yep. Sometimes it's 3 steps forward and 2 steps back, and I think today may have been proof positive of that. But I think that one thing that you did get as a listener today is you do have a framework now to approach these purchase conversations with your significant other, and that doesn't necessarily have to end at Black Friday. Invariably, there's going to be deals, and there's going to be products that you want to purchase, whether those be pedals, amplifiers, guitars, whatever it may be, and that you could take this framework or maybe just commiserate with us, and that there actually is no perfect way to deliver this or to have this conversation with your significant other, and that there's going to be some great deals out there. It seems like most of the big brands, whether it be Goodwood, Vertex, or JHS, or any of the other brands that Brian mentioned, for the most part, big brands are going to be offering somewhere between 15 to 20% off. Whether you've already collected on that on Black Friday, you're going to utilize that Cyber Monday or further into the holiday season, because it seems like many of these extend beyond just the boundaries of Black Friday to Cyber Monday as maybe it used to be. There's a lot of great deals to have out there, and I highly recommend supporting your pedal builder that you like, and that's a great way to continue to keep them in business and support them through your pocketbook and your wallet, and how you spend is how you support. So we certainly appreciate it, and we appreciate everybody listening. And before we wrap up, I want to just hear from 2 more of our sponsors, and we will see you next week. Sorry for the interruption, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about one of our incredible sponsors, Bestronix, also known as BTPA, an amazing company out of Chicago, Illinois. Now, most of us at the Chairmen of the Boards get a lot of our materials that we build our pedal boards with, whether that be cable, whether that be for audio, whether that be for power, whether that be connectors like 1/4-inch connectors or 2.1 millimeter barrel connectors for power. All the supplies that you could possibly need to build the pedal board of your dreams is available at Bestronix. They have amazing selections, all the cables that you could possibly want, whether it's Mogami, whether it's Evidence, whatever it may be. They have every single brand conceivable, in addition to their own brand, their in-house brand, which is absolutely incredible sounding, super low capacitance, and competes with all the best stuff, whether it be Mogami, Canary, Belden, etc. They have a great in-house brand, highly recommended, and listeners get a special discount using the code DACHAIRS, DACHAIRS, just like the old show on Saturday Night Live where they talked about Da Bears being from Chicago, as Bestronix are. You can use the coupon code DACHAIRS and you can get 10% off anything in the entire store. Absolutely amazing way to save some dough, get some great materials from some great people. Bestronix, absolutely amazing company, highly recommended by the chairman of the boards. Before we wrap up today, I want to again thank our sponsor, BetterHelp, for helping make this podcast possible. Again, BetterHelp is an amazing service that allows you to have therapy in the comfort of your very own home. Again, as I said before, sometimes life will throw at you curveballs, sometimes building pedal boards will throw at you curveballs. And BetterHelp is there to help support you make your way through the complications that just arise as part of being human. And if that's something that you'd be interested in, BetterHelp has the largest network of therapists, over 3 million matches between individuals like you and me, and licensed and vetted therapists through BetterHelp. It is incredibly affordable compared to the ordinary therapeutic models that many people might institute, the old school way of going into a therapist's office. There's no waiting rooms, there's no traffic, there's no commute. You can do it all from your very own home. All you need to do is fill out a questionnaire to help match you with the best possible therapist, again, for what you're looking for. And on top of that, you can save 10% on your first month by going to betterhelp.com/chairman. And again, you'll get to see why millions of people choose to get their therapy in this format, again, through our friends over at BetterHelp.